In today's episode of my podcast story, we have Nicolette Nierras, the inspiring founder of Nick Nierras Holistic Lifestyle and the host of the You Are Worthless podcast. Nick's journey from a chartered accountant to a transformational coach is a testament to our belief that true fulfillment goes beyond financial success. Through our unique, worthy, authentic, and abundant framework, she empowers individuals to break free from limiting beliefs and emotional barriers, guiding them toward a life of purpose and abundance. With our warm energy and deep insights, Nick invites listeners to explore their self-worth and challenge societal norms. She's here to share her inspiring journey on how she built her show from the ground up and the impact she hopes to make in the world. What's your name and the name of your podcast and what your podcast is about?
Okay, so we're starting now, right?
Yeah. We're starting now.
Okay, yes, hello everyone. My name is Nicolette. You can call me Nick. I run a show or a podcast that is called You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul.
Ooh, mouthful. Worthless. Okay.
Yes.
You're worthless. What, like
You're
worthless?
That's exactly. You don't have any worth.
Ooh. Oh, okay. You have a lot of
But-
explaining to do.
Yes. So the origin of that name was because that's what I used to think of myself, worthless. But then the other part of the name at the back, if you read it, it's actually, I'm asking you to read the statement again that is in front. You're worthless because you're actually not worthless. You're worth everything. It's the juxtaposition of your soul. Your soul is here. That means you matter. That means you're worth it. So it's a word play, but it is to invite people to think deeper about the negative self-talk they have in their head. And the guests that I have on are actually in the realms of personal development, spiritual, and self-help. So that is actually the true essence of my podcast.
Wow. I like the story behind your podcast. Wow. You're worthless.
Yes.
Wow.
You're worthless. It's actually the pivotal point of everything. So I had it's a loss of relationship back in 2019, and therefore from there onwards I started going inwards, started asking myself, started thinking, who am I, what is the purpose of my being here on earth? And that brought a lot of feelings that I've suppressed over the years, where I needed to go for external validation, getting the accolades, getting the achievements, getting a good paying job, etc. But then the whole thing came crumbling down, especially before COVID. I mean, COVID really did a number on all of us, right?
Yeah.
So So that was also the start of me checking to see if there is another path. So prior to this, I was an accountant, and then I felt like that life wasn't for me anymore, the corporate life. So that's why I decided to move into my own practice. And while I'm at that, talking to people and see if I could connect with them.
Oh. Wow. Okay. What you do currently, what you do now, as kind of like a full-time job, what's it?
Right. Okay. So right now, well, thank you for asking. Right now I'm just transitioned from a corporate job, which is an accountant last year. And I have now moved into my own practice, which is a hypnotherapist and a life coach, basically transformational life coach. So I help people get unstuck in the areas of their personal relationships, career, or business. If they want to up level, they come to me. And at the same time, I talk to people for a living. Well, the podcast right now is I spend 50% of my time on the podcast and then 50% on the business.
Oh, okay. So you switched from corporate job to your own independent stuff, right? Last year.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. Yes.
Oh. So you've always had a thing towards hypnotherapy.
Well, okay, the story behind that is also because of that loss of relationship. I felt that I was not worthy. Therefore, I felt worthless. Therefore, I felt like I was not lovable. I was not enough in the eyes of my ex partner. And then I focused into work. So, because I've always known that work, I've always been good in my studies and therefore work. So, this is something that I could control. But in hindsight, life is not that linear all the time and life isn't fair. I thought that getting the money, getting the job, the status, the pay would bring me happiness, would further validate my worth. But I was wrong, obviously. And so hypnotherapy was something that I wanted to see if I could help myself, if I could really go into the root cause as to why I felt unlovable. And usually it's not usually, it is because there's some kind of beliefs that you form, anybody form, mostly, okay, about 98% of them form between the age of 0 to 8, that they form something that, oh, they needed to do X, and that's why so that they could feel loved.
Wow.
And it could manifest in the form, yeah, it could manifest in the form of, oh, I need to study hard because my parents will only pay attention to me if I study hard, or I will need to get X amount of money so that the community will see me as successful, or the family is. But what are you trying? So I take my clients, or the thing that I ask myself, if I were to out strip away all of this that I have achieved, who am I, right? Who am
Yeah,
I as a person?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not,
So yeah.
yeah. Like,
Sorry, you were saying.
no, not to go turn this into probably a life coach moment, but I think it's a very important question because a lot of persons, they've lost who they are without those accolades, accomplishments, and achievements. And the moment those stuff stop coming, they start questioning their existence and their identity.
Yes, yes, that is correct. Like if your job that you really prayed for, but then it's taken away from you, do you, if most people equate their self-worth to that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if they don't have that anymore, who are you?
Yeah, it,
Right?
it looks like, when you take the stuff or you attack the stuff, it looks like you're trying to kill them, or you've removed you, like, it's as if you've blocked out their soul, something like that. And it's really
Yes.
hard on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, maybe one of these days I'll invite you to one of my other podcasts who would really have a great conversation about what you do. Now your podcast has been going for like 6 years. Am I correct?
Wow, that's six. That's too long. I started my podcast, not yet, not 6 years yet. Started my podcast July 2023, so that I'm coming up to 2 years now.
Ooh, because the story started in 2019, so I was believing that the podcast
Oh
started then.
no, yeah, the 19 one was the start of my spiritual journey, I would say. But
Ooh,
then the
ooh, 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 ooh,
yeah,
okay, 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 okay. So, um, that's about 4 years after the start of the spiritual journey, you then decided to start the podcast.
yes,
So I'm kind of curious now because before I was thinking that, okay, well, after what happened after uh the end of that relationship, I was thinking, okay, that led to you starting a podcast as a way to like express yourself and all that. But it didn't exactly happen immediately. So obviously, what happened was that you started exploring your spiritual journey, and later on, like 4 years later on. So it wasn't like a direct causal cause and effect stuff. It's like four
no.
years after. So why podcasting? Like, I mean, of all the things you possibly could do, why podcasting? You could have done YouTube, done other things. Why podcast?
Okay. I think number one was because I've always it I asked the same thing, okay. Nick, if what is the best thing that you can do which is effortless to you? Because I was tired of putting something at work without getting the satisfaction that I feel that fulfills my soul. So I tried to dig deep into what is it that I like to do, and I could do it without if money wasn't the issue, what would I be doing? Just let's just put it simply. I said, okay, you know what? You like to talk. You like to connect with people. You like to set up events. You like to coordinate things, and it's a natural flair. So I said, okay, and I didn't know podcasting would be a hit for me. Like when I say a hit, it's people would be resonating. I just think about something that sings that brings joy. So I said, I tried. To be honest, at that point, I was like, if I was really at my lowest, I knew that I needed to get a job, yes, but that was basically I was operating on a fear mindset, that I'm not going to be provided for, or I need to pay my bills, therefore I need to do this. It's not more of a want. So podcasting came in, was also I could tie this up with my hypnotherapy because I wanted to help people who's gone through something similar with what I've gone through, right? In relationship and also in the job. But then I said, okay, because my self-esteem was really tarnished at that point, I needed to build it back again. So I said, it's not possible that I'm the only one with this biggest problem in the world. I felt like I had the biggest problem. So before people, because I did not feel worthy, people would pay me for my service.
Oh,
So I said, yeah, that's how bad I was. So I felt worthless, right? So I just said, okay, you know what? Let me use this podcasting as a training ground for me to talk to people. And then let's see if I can build my self esteem then. And it so happened that the podcast actually was a hit among the people in, mostly in the States because I was Alex from Podmatch signed me up and people were resonating. And I'm like, okay, some people actually want to hear what I have to say. So that's when the journey started. At one point, I focused on the podcast and not so much in the business. But until the layoff happened last year for me, it was like the universe saying, hey, okay, you you really focus on what you said you wanted to do. And so I'm taking this away from you.
wow.
So that's, yeah, it's like serendipitous in a way, um, and fulfilling in a way. And that's why podcasting has become an integrated part of my practice and for a part of me, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very nice. And this is okay. This question is not question. Okay, okay. Yeah. I like. I won't say I like the fact that you were laid off, but now that you, but I like what being laid off. Had you doing kind of like you were plunged into the stuff you were always wanting to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like sometimes, whenever where we are at right now, we actually prayed for it at one point. We just
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we just don't realize it, or we just you cruise through life and things happen, we lost sight. But then, I believe in high power, I believe in God. The universe is always keeping tabs. They actually keep you accountable because you said you want to go get to say path B or C. We might think of path A is the only way to go there, but no, there's so many ways. And we forgot that actually we wanted to go to path C, but
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah. Okay, I like for us to like let's I'm not how do I put it now? Okay, the statement I'm going to say now is going to sound really really hypocritical, but this is it. As much as I don't care so much about numbers, we want to know about some of the numbers. So some of the questions that we're asking will be
Ooh!
regarding numbers. Now, if at any question you don't feel comfortable with regarding the question, please feel free to decline answering it. Oh, yeah,
Oh
just a heads up.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I decline all?
You've not even heard of the question. Why are you wow.
Okay, no,
I
no.
see you
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
I see you have an agenda. It's all right.
No agenda.
Okay. Okay. Is your podcast audio only or audio and video?
They're both video.
Was it
Oh,
always like
video
that?
and audio.
Was it always like that?
No. So the first part, it was just the first six episodes were just audio, and then seven onwards there are all video.
When you say 7 awards and first 6, like how often do you release episodes for your podcast?
So far now,
Yeah.
well, I've recorded about close to 200,
Ooh.
and I've released, yeah,
Wow.
and I've released, I think, about a quarter of it. I haven't released, sorry, no, when I say 200, 75% of it. So 50 of them, or I would say maybe another 30 is still on the way.
At the point in time, you nearly lost us, but yeah, we're back on track. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying?
I said at the point in time when you started mentioning the figures, like you nearly lost us. You're like a quarter, and I was like, where are we? Are we? I was like, okay, we're back on track. Right.
We're back on track.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, 75%. Why? Are you recording in advance, or is there any other reason why the
Yeah,
remaining 30%?
in advance, so back in, because I just moved, so that was a bit of life changing moments for me. So last year I moved from where I was for the past 15 years,
What was that?
because when I got laid off, that was in my country, Malaysia, the capital, Kuala Lumpur. So I moved back to the east side of the country. It's called
Ooh.
Sabah. Yes,
Huh.
yes. And so in between, I took a break, but I recorded, but I let my guests know in advance that this would probably be a little bit in the future, and they were very understanding. And so right now, I'm churning, clearing up my backlogs so that at least I only have 5 episodes in the queue.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So, wow. Oh, okay. You're pretty active on YouTube, right?
kind of, yes.
Hmm. Can
Actually,
you
not really.
can you explain your
I
kind of?
am. I I because my platforms are on my long forms are on Spotify and YouTube. Therefore, these two places are for my long form videos, which is my podcast.
So
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 every day,
so every time
mhm,
you release an episode, it goes live on YouTube.
yes,
Okay, you're active on
but
the
like,
YouTube.
yeah, but yeah, I am active on
Yeah.
YouTube,
Okay. So
but it's not like
okay.
it's not like right now. It's live on YouTube. No, it's I record. So for example, if I am the one hosting now, meaning I would probably release it next 2 weeks or something. But
Yeah.
I release every day.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, when I say live, no, I'm not talking about live streaming. I'm talking about like when
No,
you
no, no.
publish an
Yeah.
episode on Spotify, you also publish it on YouTube. That's what I'm saying now.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes, that is
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. A lot of persons they have YouTube and for some reason they started the YouTube and they just like that part kind of like just stopped. So I just wanted to confirm from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Spotify does not allow monetization at my side, my country just yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
a little bit bummed with that. So I'm like, okay, if you know what, you don't want to monetize me, I'm gonna go to YouTube.
yeah,
At least try to get a better reach there. Yeah.
yeah. And so the next question I'm gonna ask is what's this what's the YouTube like? What are the subscribers? What are the views like?
Oh, okay, right. Because okay, so during the start, I think I only set up my YouTube account. Let me see. 6 months or 4 months after I started my video.
Nice.
So that I started in July, and then December was when I think it was December or August I started my YouTube. And so at the start it was just me, posting, grinding and whatnot, and I didn't know about SEO and title whatnot. So in between that, um last year I hired somebody to help me for a few months, and they managed to bump up the visibility. And so right now I stand at 2.9 subscribers, 2.9K subscribers
Ooh,
on
wow. OG. I have to learn from the
no.
master.
But thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I always see myself like, we always want to compare to, like, the podcast creators outside, right? When you
Yeah.
see ourselves, it's so small, but actually, right now I don't have any clue in. Okay, this is because this is a podcast story, right? I'm going to be very honest to those people listening to us, because starting a podcast is easy, yes, but it takes a lot of work behind the scene. Now, recording, talking to people is super easy, but behind the scene, and if you're the only one working, you got to edit it, you got to publish it, and do everything. So before, if you have somebody, they can tweak your SEO, they can tweak the keywords and whatnot, so that they, you get better visibility. But right now, I try to do it on my own, and with the help of some tools online. And luckily, I managed to get at least like more than the normal views that I had. So the key thing with YouTube is you posting regularly, and people, so that people are accustomed to who you are.
Oh.
As much as you, when you do something, you feel like there's no result, we want instant result. It doesn't happen like that. um that's what I tell myself every day. So
Oh.
just keep churning, Nicolette.
So you monetize on YouTube?
I have monetized on YouTube, yes.
Now the story is getting
I
interesting.
Okay, I have monetized on, I've got the status, but then after that, okay, I have to admit, because I pack up my bags. So when the moment I got monetization status, I took a break. And
Oh,
my
that's
assistant at the
that's
time that
that's strange.
yeah, I took a break. Yeah, I took a break because it was piling up on me. At the time, I was in Kuala Lumpur, and I needed to make the decision to go back to my hometown where my parents are, because I have to be mindful of my resources and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I had to make a lot of changes, and so I started selling my stuff and started moving. And at the time, I did not go. I did not publish, so I took a break about 1.5 months, and my views went down.
Oh,
So yeah, yeah, really, my views went down, and I now only that I am settled at my place, my current place, because the transitioning period is not easy for me as well. You have your friends who are in the corporate job, and you're doing like the only thing in your friend group. It can feel very isolating.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's kind of it's odd because then you don't have anybody to compare or measure yourself and see what you're doing. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. And the people that you're measuring are, the success. Okay. Successful is a very vague term here. Everybody has a different definition of success, being successful, but the likes of, Stephen Bartlett, Jay Shetty, I mean, these people I look up to for their podcast numbers, compared to where I am, I mean, it's so far off. But um but life
ah.
life is a journey, life is a journey.
No, like I think earlier on, I think 4 hours ago, I was having a conversation with another guest, and one of the things we talked about was the fact that you have to like know the type of and the kind of podcast you have. Podcasting is one of those. It's like one of those meal that can give you basically anything you want out of it. Can give any of the ingredients, any of the nutrients, right? I think the kind of podcast you have. How do I say it now? And this is not kind of like final or stuff like that. It's is a kind of podcast that is specific, and so it has the ability to go deep. But of course, it can also go broad and reach a lot of audience. I mean, out of 7 billion people in the world, like a minimum up to like 10 million persons will be interested in the kind of stuff you do on your podcast, right? And we've
Mm,
never reached like any of those percentage of number. But what I'm saying is that most of these bigger podcasts, they are built in such a way that they try to cover as much audience, and it makes sense because they want to make money from ads and stuff like that. But for we, like me now, I have a podcast now, my podcast story. My podcast, I do not intend for my podcast to be listened by everybody in the world. No, no, that would just be what's the word? Ridiculous. Yeah, that would be ridiculous because
mm,
no, that's not what the podcast is meant for. But what I'm trying to look at is okay, how large is the podcast market, right? A number of people who are interested in
mm.
podcasting. I'm trying to like think of okay, how big is that market? That's people I'm trying to reach, right? And yeah, yeah, that's the
I
the idea.
that's a great mindset.
Yeah.
That's a great mindset.
Yeah.
You are right, because when I also, but before I started this as well, I had to think about, okay, if you're looking at, you're worthless and you're talking about self-worth, self-identity,
Yeah.
personal development, and I have to find something that I resonate with and I want to do, not because I want to serve what the people want, because okay, it can go both ways. But if you just keep on serving on what people want, isn't that the same as, working at a job that you don't really like?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about a podcast is it's your podcast. You can basically do whatever you like.
Exactly my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yes.
At the end of the day,
Yes.
I would say, oh, this tomorrow you can rebrand and say, yeah, that's your name is Nicolette. Oh, what's your surname again? Uh,
Nearest.
Nierras. So you can basically just change it to the Nicolette Nierras show. And yeah, basically you can do whatever and there's nothing nobody's going to say. People might say, she changed her show. Basically they will just talk and you move and you might become the next show where you invite everybody from everywhere in the world to basically talk about anything and everything. And yeah, it's your
Correct.
show. You can basically do whatever you like. Probably tomorrow you can decide, say, okay, I don't know the language. It's English speaking right now, right? You could
Yes.
say, okay, you want to move to something called, you want to just focus on only speaking Malay, and that could be the thing.
Yeah.
It's your show, yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes when people overthink this thing, I'm like, you're in complete control. Like, do what you want to do. Like, it's not life and death. I mean,
That's true. Yes.
yeah,
If this is your hobby or your passion project, if you let it control you,
yeah,
what's the whole point of getting into
yeah.
it?
I mean, everybody's talking about numbers, but people don't really see they don't really see the other benefits of podcasting other than getting a ton of millions of downloads, millions of listens. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love that. I love to see my dashboard get a lot of numbers. It's nice. There's this
Yes.
huge dopamine hits, but there are a lot of other benefits from podcasts. I mean, I've met a lot of incredible guests on my podcast that I would never have met in
Mhm.
real life just because I had a podcast.
That is very, very true.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm having a conversation with you now because all in the name of my podcast. Like,
That is correct.
you,
Yes, because I decided to start my podcast and then you decided to start my podcast and here we are.
yeah, like you from Malaysia. Wow. Like, I'm trying to like, how on earth could we have? No, I'm just trying to like, try to have a conversation. Like, even if I wanted to like network and make friends with people, I wouldn't like. You would not even pop up the radar. Probably, I would even think of, okay, who are the people in my country that I want to like, that I can see that around me that I can network with and reach out to. I'm like, Malaysia? Nah, nah, nah. I'm like, no, no, no. Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
but yeah, the power of yeah, it's the power of our voice, and well, thanks to technology as well.
yeah.
This is all possible.
Yeah. And for me, I think there's something I've been thinking of recently. And it's a strange thing though, but I think in two ways. And probably later on I would leverage those thoughts. And this is me just putting it out there. And I noticed that if someone is pretty young in their career and they want to like advance quickly and become a thought leader and a voice, what they should do is probably start a podcast in no matter how niche the industry might be. I'll give an example. Of course, it has to be something they want to do. Let's say you're really into accounting or stuff like that. It's something you like to talk about and stuff like that. Assuming you won't really want there are people who love to advance in the accounting corporate world. And as much as people say,
Hmm.
oh, that stuff is not for me, they love people who love the career, the employment, and all those things. Yeah,
Yeah,
entrepreneurship is not for everybody. So let's just get that
that is
let's get that
true.
straight.
That
Yeah,
is true.
yeah.
Yes.
So if
If
yeah, so if you wanted to advance in the feed, and what better way would it be to, let's say, if you wanted to get to talk to know everybody in Malaysia and build relationship with all the top accountants, the top companies, the top firms, the movers and shakers in the industry, rather than having a podcast with regarding that team and then inviting them and chatting with them. And in the course of 1 to 2, 3 years, you probably would have spoken with almost everybody that that kind of matters in the industry. And in a way, and of course, getting listens will be great, but in a way, you've built relationship with this person, and they kind of like they've known you. Like, yeah, I know that guy. I went to his podcast one time, and he was a great guy.
that's right. That's right. And you know, you You reminded me of something. Most of my guests are from the States, and my listeners are half from Malaysia and half from the States. So
Okay.
I've only interviewed people from my country. I think about less than 10.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, less than 10. So mostly are outside of the country. You know what? Probably I'm gonna start reaching out to my thought leaders in the country.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the world it's borderless now. It's
Yeah, of
seamless.
course, of course. But we want to be known locally too. As much as we try to be international, let's also be known locally.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. It's really yeah. It's very important, and podcast is designed to be hard in a way, and I feel that's kind of like a good thing because it's unlike the other stuff. People don't even know that you're doing anything regarding a podcast. Like it's really hard.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You've told us the reason you started a podcast, and question I'm going to ask now is what for your interviews, what do you use to record your interviews?
What do I use to
Yeah,
record my
the
interviews?
software.
Same as you.
Yeah.
I use
Ooh.
Riverside.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. 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 That's nice. That's nice. Uh, yeah. My guess is that you're on the pro plan,
Pro is the
15 hours per month.
highest one, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that one. The second one, not the highest tier. The highest tier
Yeah.
is, I think, the
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
second one.
They tell that other one, that's like the highest that they tell you, oh, is the business. I don't know if you've noticed.
Oh,
There's no.
yeah, you have to contact them.
Yeah,
No,
I
not
did
that one.
contact them, and I realized that that's a completely different product from this one they offer,
Oh,
and you'll be shocked
okay.
that the price was about, I think, it's $8,000 in a year.
Okay, thank you. Not now, not yet, not yet.
And I was like, dude, I'm coming from $30 per month, and like, what's
Exactly.
going on here? Of course, there were a lot of bells and
Yes.
whistles, but I'm like, dude, that stuff is a lot, man. It's a lot.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. But I
Yes.
said I'm just gonna stick with the one I'm using for now. Let's do that. Okay, well, Riverside is incredible though. It's nice. Yeah.
Riverside should be sponsoring you already
Yeah, I think
because you're promoting.
yeah. I'll reach out to them. They should start paying me
Yes.
for talking about them. Honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it because you don't even at the time I bought my this is not even a very expensive bike. It's actually it's less than how much is it? Less than $50 my mic. And
Wait, what's the name?
there is hang on, let me so it's Fantech Leviosa. It's some weird it's a gaming mic.
Is that the name of the product or the name of the company?
The name of the company.
Ooh, I've never heard of that. But the mic work, like I can hear you, and it sounds really, really great. Like honestly, it doesn't sound like those knockoff you get. Like I've been there. I've walked my way up
Me
to the level
too.
to the level I am now. So I know. At first, I would tell anybody that says mic doesn't matter. I just look at you and I'm like, I'm like,
Exactly.
you're ignorant. You are ignorant. You don't know any better.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah. When you know better, you stop saying this nonsense you are saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like,
exactly.
I've had different guests, and sometimes when they start speaking, they sound really wise because the mic is top tier. Wow.
Exactly. Even if you talk about a thing and then you make it a loop, and then somehow people are just mesmerized. Oh,
yeah. When
what
they
he or
laugh,
she is talking about actually
I feel wisdom.
makes sense.
Oh, wow.
You mean your name, right?
Yeah, that's my name. Wow, and this is me just being okay. But it matters. Like, yeah, apart from just the the content of the podcast, like having a conversation with someone, it's just different.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever had a situation where you recorded an episode, and at the end of the episode you're laughing? Do you know what the question I'm going to ask?
That I did not record an episode.
Wait, what's going on? Like, so, how did you know that was the question I was going to ask?
because we are all podcasters, so we
Okay,
have
okay,
done that
okay,
before.
okay, okay. What was it like? I would love to hear some of the details regarding that circumstance.
I've done that once. I really hope I would never
Oh,
ever have.
once.
I would never
Okay,
ever get the, yeah,
okay.
just once.
Oh, you it shows you
20 minutes in.
it shows you're pretty intelligent. Like you didn't have to get burnt a couple of times to learn your lesson. Wow.
Because it's a tough thing, and getting those people to come up again and say, hey, I am very embarrassed because I actually did not press the record button, and so we have to record again. Imagine if you did not record this.
Yeah, like I was literally looking at the record
Ah,
button every time. I'm like each time I talk, I look there. Like I'm always because okay, let's just say
no, the key is the timer.
yeah,
It's running. Yeah.
yeah. I think
There
they
is
should
no
call it
timer.
PTF, post traumatic forget to record disorder. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's nah. Most of the times when it happens like that, you just look at it and start questioning your life choices. Why did I? Why did I?
Exactly.
Why did I?
Why? I thought especially me, I thought you got all those straight A's, but you can't even get this right.
Oh my God! I say we trusted you with just one thing, and all you do is you
Yes.
just. It's alright. Okay. Wow.
But for you, because it's 3 a.m.,
Yeah.
I could excuse you. But really, I don't think you should do this wisdom. It's not really wise for you to wake up at 3.
Yeah.
At least 12, at least 12.
Yeah.
Give yourself some rest.
It's a good thing I asked that question because I was kind of laying up to ask you that stuff. Um, could you believe that everything we're recording has not been recording so far?
What is that?
All the conversation we'll be saying so far, none of them has been recording.
Oh my God. Okay, now I beat you to it.
I know you're going to say, I can see you recording.
Of course, I can see you recording.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a red button. We're at
but I noticed
39-minute mark.
the way you breathe deep and out. I was like, oh, I was like, yeah. So even though you said you were going to
No.
excuse me, I was like, that would have need to reschedule 1 hour again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm gonna make it very clear to the guests that this is our second attempt
Okay.
because you did not record the first time.
Okay. I'm happy we'll not be having to do that. At least
Yes.
the way everything
Yes.
everything is going. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm one of those persons that it's a nice thing. I'm talking to someone who is in the has a podcast in the self-improvement industry, right? I'll be right if I say that. Okay. Yeah. Even though you're very niched and not just the broad no, it's not like it's into wrong with broad podcast, but of course it's the thing about broad podcast is that there's only how far you can go deep. That's just the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the question I was gonna ask you? Yeah, I believe that the things we work on us. So the question I'm going to ask is, how has podcasting kind of like helped you? You were coming from should I use the word dark place? Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but kind of like you're coming from out of a dark place. And how has podcasting really helped you over the years?
It has made me wiser.
Wisdom.
Has made wisdom.
Okay.
Yes, I feel that wisdom is being instilled every day.
Okay.
As I talk to somebody, because they come with their life experiences. So not just, and you said it very rightfully during the start of our interview, that you don't just acquire knowledge from reading. So when I was a kid, I like reading, but now I feel like you need to be very intentional when you read, but talking, you do it naturally, right? So this is a form of me acquiring knowledge. What I didn't know about, I don't know, say for example, a 401k in the States.
Yeah.
I never knew about it because I'm in Malaysia. We have a different system, but
Yeah.
I learned about that.
Oh.
And it made me it made me also very how would I say this? I don't want to say accommodating, but thoughtful in having meaningful and impactful conversation. It's those conversations that when you have at that point and you say and the host the guests are saying to me, Nick, I think I want to see how far you go from here.
Wow.
Those those kind of guests actually made me reinforce that to me that I'm on the right path. Even though sometimes I doubt myself.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, I'm glad that apart from monetary value, you've also it has also podcasting has kind of been instrumental in your self development and improvements too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it very much so.
Yeah,
Very
so
much
so
so.
yeah, that's me. I always ask about money. Money is very important.
Money is important. I
Yeah,
like money.
how is podcast, and you don't have to go into the specifics. If you're not comfortable. How's podcasting? Of course, a lot of people have this mindset that if I make podcasting, I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna be rich.
Whoa,
How
that's
has
one thing first.
eh,
People need to understand. And
okay,
let me shatter the myths.
okay,
Podcasting, at least the main revenues to earn for podcasts are from ad sponsorships and affiliate marketing with the fellow guests. These are the biggest two, at least, and the views. So when you want to be when if that's why if you see influencers, they become influencers first and then they start the podcast, right? But people actually still, if you can see, their followings are still on the influencers themselves because the influencers are the one carrying the brand.
yeah,
The podcast is an extension of you. And for me, my podcast is my marketing arm for my practice. So my practice, I've just launched it full fledged in February, and it's just been 2 months.
wow,
And
congratulations.
thank you so much. 2 months. So the podcast, I have now just started to gear it as I'm putting my own ads in there, and tying it with myself. So talking about monetary value, I get, compared to what I used to earn in corporate, probably let me see, percentage, maybe, let me see, 20% of what I used to earn. And
Oh,
yeah, and so I cannot say that I'm living a very lavish life right now. So I have to say that's why whatever it is, even though I'm not earning as much as I used to earn before just yet, but I'm very grateful that God is still providing me with a place to stay, roof over my head, food. My parents are still, willing to accept me back while I start to build my own business. And
I see what you did there.
and
See what you did there. You're very wise.
yeah,
Like at a
yeah,
point in time when I don't know what the story. I know you didn't go that much into details, but from the story you shared with me, you were at a point where you were in a state of financial woo-hoo-hoo, okay. And what I
yes,
said,
yes,
the
yes.
word I might have said for maybe you understand it in the context of why I said it, but the word I said is not an English word. Yeah,
But at least I
okay.
understood what you
Okay,
meant.
yeah, from the context, it's more like a local word I just used there. So you have to say, okay, what would be the strategic move to make? So if I go home, I'll cut out shelter out of the mix, and yeah, and so you have to
Mm,
make a strategic move, not an emotional one.
exactly,
Yeah, that was
exactly.
great. There's
I
nothing.
I want I wanted to stay, in KL is a very vibrant city, and where I am, it's totally the opposite.
Yeah,
It's where people move to retire here. But then, Nick, you gotta think of the long run.
yeah, yeah,
What are you're building yourself up. So
yeah,
why don't you focus on that
yeah. I mean,
and reduce the other unnecessary, uh,
yeah.
spending that
Yeah, I mean,
does not
that's
contribute.
that's the benefit of having an online business. It's basically as long as there's good internet in that area, we're good to go.
Exactly.
No internet,
Yes.
I'm out of that place. Yeah, that's the only thing that
Exactly.
can chase me out of a place in any country, in any state. If I just go there and
Right?
I can't find service, I'm like, nah, I'm out. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Okay. It's really incredible what happens. Like, wow, I'm glad we got to have this conversation, even though my negligence was about to cost me and a very important guest. Thank you so much.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to commend you also, Wisdom. I see the work that you do, and the fact that you mentioned to me that this is 3 a.m. where you're at, I can see your commitment, and is you're just gonna go far from here.
Oh, wow, Nicolette, thank you so much. It means a lot coming from you. Thank you so much for that. I'll add it as
You're very
part
welcome.
of my compliments. I'll put it there. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Before I forget, before I because I don't want mistake. I don't. I am afraid of making is having to record an episode where I forget to ask the guest, where can listeners learn more about you, and then we press record. We stop recording, and I'm like, ooh, I never asked the guest their call to action.
Okay. Well, so I should say my
Okay.
where they can find me,
Let me
right?
ask the question. Where can
Okay. Yeah.
listeners learn
Yeah.
more about you?
Okay. Well, to the listeners listening, I just want to say thank you for your time, because you've given us at least about an hour of your time right now. Time is something you cannot get back, and for that, I'm very grateful. If any of you is resonating with the message that I just shared, or what Wisdom just shared, you can find me on my website. Everything is on my website. I do one-on-one coaching. I have digital guides. If you are, you just want to have a taste of what it's like working with me, or they can also download my hypnosis audio. That is an element of a very big part of my work that I do, which is reprogramming your subconscious beliefs so you can reframe your best life. You can download all of that through my website, which is the Nick Nierras, holistic, holistic lifestyle.com. I also do energy work where, because I'm very intuitive. I've learned to tap into that. And when I do this with my friends, they told me, Nick, I think you should do it. And I was following my heart, and I know I'm good at it. So I do that too. And you can follow me on my socials as well. I am active on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn.
Yeah. What's the
Yes.
name of your podcast?
Oh, yes. And the name of my podcast is You're Worthless. Um, period. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul.
Okay, so that's the name on Spotify. That's the name on YouTube.
On YouTube, it is now I've changed it to the Nick Nierras Holistic Lifestyle and Podcast, because I am merging my my practice, my business, my work with the podcast. So I'm branching it out to include self help, and I'm gonna be recording back on my own content, which is just me, not just with the guests.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're kind of becoming the star of your own show and not just the guest.
Yeah, well, you said it right. It's our show. So
Yeah, yeah. You basically can do whatever you like. So who am I to say what you should do with your show? Uh, when did I have that authority?
my
I didn't say anything. I was just like, stating observation. Like, I don't have that right now. Just like you start telling me that you should do the show like this. I will listen to you and I'll say, yeah, 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 yeah. That's nice. So the next day is what I want to still do. That's the thing I will still do. And there's nothing you can do about it. That's just the truth. Like, out of
exactly.
politeness, I'll just say, wow, that's nice. That's nice. Now, of course, if it makes sense, if the stuff you're saying makes sense, I'm like, yeah, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, in pidgin here, they'll say, na your own, you just the talk. Like, it's your own, you just saying. Like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, 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 that's nice. But nah, I'm not interested. Yeah. After I'll say, who are you to tell me what to do? Like, look at her. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. At the end of the day, it's a show, and it's one of those like privilege that come. You have to you own something that you control. You can. That's huge, man. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you so much for that.
That's it for today's episode of my podcast story. I am Wisdom Okonkwo, and I hope this conversation sparked new ideas and gave you a deeper look into the heart of podcasting. If you've loved this episode, consider supporting the show by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/wisdomhq. Every bit helps keep the stories going. And hey, don't forget to follow, rate, and share this podcast with another podcaster or creator who would find it helpful. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.